Good morning, sixth grade. Today is Thursday, September 17th. Today we started out by taking out our 3 beginnings that we wrote last night for homework. So you were supposed to start your own personal narrative, whatever it was you chose to write about. Remember that you filled in your 10 on your ABCDarian list. You picked the one that you felt the most strongly about and you remembered the most details about. Then you wrote 3 different beginnings for that same story. So you could have started it with action, you could have started it with a reaction, you could have started with dialogue, you could have started by describing the setting, you could have started by describing yourself a little bit, a glimpse of you, or you could have chose a combination of several. Here are some models that you could also have looked at to help you decide what you wanted. Now, moving on today. We spent a little time writing those because people didn't understand what to do, so that was part of our day. And then we also moved on to a lesson on adding detail to your writing. So when you are writing, you want to make sure that you use concrete words that help make a picture in your reader's mind. So you want to make sure you say, don't just want to say it's a pencil, say it's a red pencil. It's not just a chalkboard, it's a dirty chalkboard. It's not just Mrs. Shappet, it's rad Mrs. Shappet. It's not just a rock, it's a hard rock. It's not just a globe, it's an old globe. We want to add detail in our writing so that the person reading it really gets a good, clear idea. So you're adding concrete words. And you also want to add in active words, like if I'm going to the grocery store, I don't just want to say I went to the store. I want to say how I went. I raced to the store if I'm like in a hurry. Or I hate grocery shopping, so really I trudge to the store because I don't want to go. We thought of other action words. Instead of saying I said, you could say I demanded. People might glide, they might jog, they might devour, they might fiddle with something. So we're looking for verbs that are more descriptive, not just simple verbs that we hear every day and say every day. The last kind of detail we talked about was sensory words, and these are the words that help describe how something smells, tastes, sounds, feels. I think there's another one. So anyway, the sensory ones. It sounds like blabber, tastes salty, it feels fuzzy or rubbery, feels wet or soggy. Something could be sticky or smelly. It could smell bland, it could smell spicy or sweet, or like a lagoon. It could feel fluffy, bumpy, hard, or soft. So we want to make sure that we don't just want to say that I had a stuffed animal. We want it to be a fuzzy, soft stuffed animal. Make sure that you're adding in those describing words. So then I gave them, let's see, we did not have time to write. Their assignment, your assignment, is to spend some time. First, you need to choose a beginning. Out of the 3 that you wrote, which one do you like the best? You may look at them today, and after having reread these, you may decide, no, I'd rather just start it with something different. And that's fine. The goal tonight is to draft for 20 minutes. And that means you are writing, you are continuing on. So you choose one of your beginnings from yesterday, or you just start writing fresh with the same idea in mind, whatever it was that you chose to write about for your personal narrative. Remember, it's supposed to be something that started out seeming to be a mistake, or it was a mistake, and it turned into something good. So choose your beginning, draft for 20 minutes. that means just keep on writing. Okay, you started it. You started your first 3 sentences. Now just keep on going with your story. And so the goal is 20 minutes. 15's okay. We're trying to get most of our narrative on paper. We can always go back in and make changes and add things in, take things out later. So just write. Your other part of your homework today is from this packet. I was planning to do this in class, but we did not have time because of extra writing that we needed to do because we didn't do it last night. So yesterday you learned how to break sentences apart. Before that you learned how to put them together, both compound and complex. Today you're actually going to write your own 2 sentences using these 2 simple sentences. In fact, I could probably quit holding up a paper and open it this way. Just a second, get it a little bigger. So, your first 2 sentences are, I will practice my jump shot today. We have a basketball tournament Saturday. These are both simple sentences. Your job is to make it compound. If you don't remember how to make it compound, you look back in your notes. You highlighted comma, conjunction. You highlighted all your, whoopsie daisies, where are they? You highlighted all these conjunction words, all these coordinating conjunctions. Look back at the examples and you should be able to write successfully a compound sentence. You also need to take these same 2 simple sentences and write a complex sentence with it. Again, look back in your notes if you need to. Also, down at the bottom, we folded this page under yesterday because we don't want to look at it unless we have to. If you're really struggling, you can't make it compound, complex, please peek. Here are some example compound sentences. Here are some example complex sentences. Use them. Pick one. You only need 1 for each. And if you want to try it on your own, please try writing your own sentence and then check it. That's our goal, is to get to that point. Then that's pretty much it. That's your only assignment, is to write these 2 sentences for this packet. So then you can put that away. And then, last but not least, I also taught we went over an example, I guess is what I should call it. We have an essay that Miss Lily wrote. It's called Gardens and Mistakes by Lily. And what I asked the students to do, you may want to write this down so you can think about it as I read in the next couple minutes. I want you to highlight the characters. Anytime a new character pops up, just highlight it on your paper. And let's see, and it's in this packet, by the way. It's right after your ABC Darien list. It says Gardens and Mistakes by Lily, so that's where you'd be highlighting it, whether you're using Kami or a hard copy. You need to highlight what the gist of the story is about. What's the topic of her story? There's a word in here that will help you for sure. You need to know who the main character is. And I also want you to highlight when you figure out what the mistake is and how it ends up turning into something good. So that is what you are looking for as you listen. I'm going to read through this lickety-split, and then that'll be it for today. Gardens and Mistakes by Lily. There now, you're all in nice and tidy, I said, as I gave the soil around the last of the dragonwing begonias a final pat. I absolutely love working in the garden, and this spring Mom let me create the design for the annuals. They're the flowers that only bloom for 1 year. We plant them in the spring, they grow wonderfully huge all summer, and then after the first frost in the fall, we dig them up and add them to the compost pile. But I'm getting off track. Sorry, I really do like talking about plants. As I was cleaning off my tools, my neighbor, Mrs. Chan, came over. Wow, Lily, she said, you certainly do have a green thumb. Maybe 2 green thumbs. Maybe add in a few green fingers. Your garden looks stunning, even better than last year. Thanks, I said. Then I got an idea. Mrs. Chan, I asked, would you like me to help plant your spring flowers? I noticed that they're not in yet. I'm starting a gardening business for the summer, and you could be my first customer. I crossed my toes in my work boots, hoping she would say yes. Mrs. Chan smiled. You know, that's a great idea, and I have a friend in Oak Court who could use some help. I'll give her your number as soon as I go inside. I did a little happy dance and said, Great, thanks a million. Neither of you will regret it. That night after dinner the phone rang. I beat my brother to the desk to answer it. Hello, Gardens by Lily, I said in my most grown-up professional voice. Lily speaking. Well, hello, Lily. This is Mrs. Cortez. I'm a friend of Mrs. Chan's, and I need someone to work in my garden. Can you come over Saturday? You bet, I squealed. Then I remembered that I was a professional entrepreneur. Yes, of course. How about 9 o'clock Saturday morning? I said in my most businesslike voice. Fine, I live at 604 Oak Court. The plants, compost, and soil will be in the driveway. I will be out for the morning, but you can work while I'm not there. I want the dead plants and leaves removed, new compost and soil added, and the new plants put in. Can you do all of that? Yes, ma'am, I said confidently. I didn't have a pen or paper handy, so I did my best to memorize what Mrs. Cortez said. On Saturday morning, I rode my bike over to Mrs. Cortez's neighborhood. I saw the house with all the gardening supplies piled neatly in the driveway. The car was gone. I got to work and had just finished when a car pulled in. A woman got out and glared at me. Who are you and what are you doing in my garden? She demanded in a voice that made the smile disappear from my face. Well, hello, Mrs. Cortez. I'm Lily from Gardens by Lily. Don't you remember that Mrs. Chan recommended me, and we agreed that I would do your garden work today? The sweat was pouring off my head and down my neck, and it wasn't from the heat. Suddenly, the woman started laughing. Oh, dear, there's been a mix-up, she said. She sounded much nicer now. I know Mrs. Cortez. She lives at 604 Oak Court. This is 604 Oak Drive. Our neighborhood has several streets with similar names. She's 2 blocks over, just off Spruce Street. Oh, I am so sorry, I said. I didn't write down the address, and I remembered Oak, and you had plants in the driveway, and you weren't home. She said, I'm Mrs. Franzen, and the garden looks lovely. Actually, I left all the things out for my son. He said he would take care of the garden for me today because I was feeling a little under the weather and didn't want to work outside myself. Well, I guess I saved him some time, I said. I am really sorry, though. I told her all about trying to start a gardening business and how much I like flowers. And now I'm hot and tired and late for Mrs. Cortez. So much for my first day in business. My shoulders slumped and I fought back tears. Mrs. Franzen reached into her purse and pulled out her wallet. How much would you charge for this work? She asked. I gulped. $20, I said. She handed me a crisp new $20 bill, then she asked me if I would be her gardener for the whole spring and summer. I almost said yippee, but then I remembered that I was an entrepreneur. We set up a time and shook hands. I pedaled furiously over to 604 Oak Court. Mrs. Cortez was standing in the driveway, looking at her watch and frowning. I quickly introduced myself, apologized, and told her the whole story. I didn't leave out even one tiny detail. By the end, she was holding her sides and laughing. Mrs. Franzen is one of the pickiest people I know when it comes to her garden, she said. If she likes your work, and so does Mrs. Chan, then you're hired for the spring and summer. I'll bring you some iced tea, and you can go get acquainted with your new plant pals. So that's how Gardens by Lily started, with a mistake that turned into a great success. But ever since that fateful day, I always carry a notepad and pen, and I write everything down. Holy cow, that was as fast as I could go. So you should have highlighted some important details in that example. That is just an example of someone else's personal narrative. You are writing your own today. You also need to write your spelling words in cursive. They are due tomorrow. If you don't get them to me tomorrow, give them to me on Monday, please. You also need to read for 20 minutes. So it's kind of a loaded day for language arts, but I have faith in you. Have a good day.